It was quite intimidating and really anxiety provoking. I was just constantly checking to see what was coming through my door, who was standing at my door. Could it have been somebody asking for money? The phone calls, I started to not answer my phone because I was too scared in case it was somebody saying that they needed this amount of money within a certain amount of time. It was just really scary and I just felt completely hopeless. My mental health really took a dip. I was struggling to sleep, I wasn't eating very much, I lost interest in a lot of my hobbies, I just was completely isolated. I cut myself off from my friends and my family and was just sort of stuck in this kind of whirlwind that was my life, and having letters and phone calls and people at the door. It was just awful. I was petrified making that first phone call. I was so ashamed of being in the position that I was in and not having sought help before it got to the breaking point. So that first phone call was probably the most difficult phone call I think I've ever had to make. But once I made that call, my life completely changed. My worker was Joyce, and that was who I first spoke to, and she was absolutely lovely. There was no judgment, there was no malice, there was no bad feeling anywhere. She was so understanding, and she sort of said to me, "We're going to get through this together." And I didn't feel like I was on my own anymore. I felt like I've got somebody on my side that's going to help me. So the first step was to kind of look at how much I make and where the money goes. So figuring out a sort of plan of how much money is going to be left over after all of that. And the money that is left over goes to pay the debts that I did have. Right at the beginning, things were incredibly tight, so every penny was accounted for, and I think that was quite stressful. And Joyce came to my doorstep with food parcels and Christmas presents for Albie and for myself. I would 100% recommend CAP to anybody who's in debt. It's such a personal experience that's tailored to you and to your debts. It's like nothing else I think I could have ever experienced. From somebody who thought that she was going to end up paying debt for the rest of her life to having paid it off in 3 years is phenomenal. By the time he goes to school, I'm going to be able to afford that school trip that he wants to go on, or a holiday when he's a wee bit older. Just so grateful, and I'm just so happy that I can provide for my family and look after my son. That's just the biggest thing.